Hello, Darren the Magic Ghostbuster here, and in this video I'm working on the gloves for my new Vigo costumes. This is one of my original gloves for my original costume. This is probably the part of the costume I was least happy with, if I'm honest. But on his gloves, so he has these three different levels with spikes on the knuckles. Now I can actually look at it a bit more. Not actually gloves like this. So how I originally made this was I bought a pair of these brown leather gloves and stuck the material and the studs and all that on, but they're not actually gloves in that way. It's like no finger holes, that sort of thing. One interesting thing, which I never really noticed before, this wasn't part of the costume that came up for sale, but it looks like he's actually wearing gloves underneath these. So like his fingers, if you look, it look like they're like a tan brown maybe. Yeah, which I found interesting. Now on the original I used these spike studs, but now I can zoom in more. They're actually larger spikes, so I've bought some of those. These ones on the knuckles, it looks like the ones used on the original costume are things they moulded themselves. I wanted real metal ones, so they were as good as I could get. I'm just going to take them off here and put on the new one. So there's that. Now I've done a bit of experimenting first with some cheap vinyl I bought just to get the shape right. So I've got two different layers of material here, and one thing, let's make sure I'm getting this the right way. So the pictures of the screen use costume, you can see this top part. Okay, you can't really see the underneath, so I'm not sure how accurate I'm going to get that. But then I've also done these three layers, which will go, so they'll go on top there. But the first thing I want to do is stitch these two bits together just there, so I can basically check the sizing and everything, and then get these in place. These are going to be held on by the spikes rather than stitching those on. Originally I stitched them on, but zooming in there appears to be no stitching whatsoever that I can tell that is holding it on. So which is interesting. So let's do this. Alright, so that's one side stitched. So how this works is that my thumb goes through there, that's gonna get stitched there, and then obviously we'll have all these layers on this side. So let's have a little play on how that's gonna go. So it should be roughly like that. So next I'm just going to get some spikes. I'm just going to do some measurements and punch the holes. So I've put the first two spikes on. These are the ones I'm using. So on the original costume there was some bigger spikes, and I'd used more. I can't think of I haven't got any tan at the moment. Then they don't have this ridge bit. Basically, they were smooth spikes, which was wrong. So they're held on with screws. Nice. So then we'll put these bits on so I can measure the next two. Now, this is where it gets slightly more awkward, because let's just get that there. Obviously I'm now going through 3 layers of leather, and then when I get to the next layer it'll be 4 layers of leather. So what I have to do, I'll just show you this tool in a second. It's really just to mark, and then I can do a proper punch through the holes. Good. So I'll just punch through here for a second and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So if you watched all of my previous video on the skirt section, you would have seen me do this at one point. So basically I've got this tool, and the point of this tool, have a little bit of this off cut, is you basically wrung it down the edge of some leather, and it kind of gives it a nice edge. So I'm just doing this really rough, but that's kind of how you do it. You do it a lot smoother than that. I'm just doing that rough. So what I was doing was I was using this, and basically I'm just getting rid of some of the leather on the back where that spike's going to screw in. So basically it just makes that part of the leather a lot thinner, and then I'll be able to screw it in. Because at the moment I can do the first 2, I'm not going to be able to do 3 or 4. Right, I thought I pressed play on the last section. Turns out I hadn't. So what I've done, I made sure all the spikes fitted on properly. So you scraped away the bottoms, as I said earlier, and yeah, all fits. And then I took it apart because I like to do a little bit of trimming on this, on these sections, and yeah, and then done the edges. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting them back. I'm putting a little bit of glue to hold them nicely, but also as I go, I'm putting a little bit of black polish underneath the end, which I've already done on the first one. So just like this. And what that's going to do is it's just going to give it a bit more depth, I guess could be the word. Which, you know, I did the same thing on the other part, on the skirt that I did in the previous video. And just hold them there for a minute. Hopefully you can see there's a bit of a difference there now to that one, which I haven't done yet, so I think it looks nicer. Right, looking for the glue. It's right in front of me, so just put a little bit of that on. So I don't think I really need to do this because it's held on by the spikes. It's more for this back part, which doesn't have any spikes to hold it on, although that's going to be held pretty tight, or at least that's the plan, by the gauntlets. You know, we'll find out if my plan works when we get to that stage. Oh, it smells horrible, this stuff. Right. Alright, let's just make properly. And then we've got the final bit, so again, bit of a black shoe polish, and it is just standard black shoe polish or boot polish that I'm using, not using anything special. You know, it might be one of those things where you tell me, oh, there's better stuff you can use, and you could be right. I'm sort of, you know, I'm not an expert in leather or anything. I'm just kind of just working things out as I go along and seeing what works. My original idea for this was actually to airbrush it. It was a friend of mine, Paul, you know, brilliant model maker and painter and everything. I phoned him and said about, you know, airbrushing these bits, and is it something he could do for me, because, you know, I've never airbrushed it in my life. And it was his idea. He said, why don't you use polish? Probably look nicer. And yeah, you know, I'm happy with the result, certainly. So I feel like I'm going to get high on this glue. Right, spread this out a bit more. Perfect. Right, so let's just put the cap back on this. Alright, now let's get the screws back on. So these just with a Phillips screw on the back. Like that. So the thicker ones first, they're going to be the harder ones. To go in there. I did have one screw, one spike actually, which I took off and changed to another one where didn't seem the thread. I think that must have picked that one up by mistake. The thread didn't seem to start at the end. If that makes sense, and it wasn't screwing in. Yeah, I had a couple like that, weirdly. Slightly concerning, I'm hoping, because I need some more of these spikes for the gauntlets. So I'm hoping I have enough and don't have to buy more. Right, so they are on. Now it's to add these ones. And just grab this small screwdriver because that one's too big. So this is where I actually destroy my originals now. Be worth it in the long run. So these were held on by Phillips head screws as well. So I mean overall I'm happy with how it's looking so far. I think it looks a lot nicer than what I was originally using. Right, now I'm not going to get a thin enough one on there. What's the thinnest one? I think it's already on that. So I think about there. Because that material was so thin, I was punching it into previously, I put those bits of vinyl. Yeah, just to thicken it a bit. Might have to even consider doing that again because it doesn't fit in all the way. Just do the rest of these punches. Right, nearly there. And last one. And that is pretty much finished now, so what I'm just going to leave that to dry for a bit. That's going to curve a little bit, and then once it's dry I'm going to stitch that bit together and that'll be done, so we'll come back and do that shortly. Well, that's done, and here is the other one, which well, these are now both done, so fits on like that, pretty good. And let's put this one on as well. Tad tight again, that one on, but they fit. So yeah, very happy with how these come out. Certainly a lot better than my previous gloves. So yeah, very happy with them. So just need the gauntlets now, and the boots, and then the main armour. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next part of this series. Until then, keep on busting.
Want to give a big shout out to the Magic Ghostbuster. Hey Darren, very, very impressive.